Rockingham County Government and Spectrum 1304 presents You've Got Grit. You've Got Grit. Sir Paul Prewitt of Eaton, North Carolina. You've got grit. And true grit is staying in the game when others would have dropped the ball and left the park. This is why we're talking to Sir Paul Prewitt of Eaton, North Carolina. Tell us, Sir Paul, where are you originally from?
Arkansas.
And is that where you grew up?
Yes, I was born and raised in northeast section of Arkansas. Stayed there until 1939 when I left. I've been gone from there since then.
And when you left, did you go to school? Did you go to the
No.
military?
I went up to northern Missouri looking for work. That was back in 1939, and there wasn't a whole lot doing back in those days. And in 1940, the government offered me a job as a clerk typist at $105 a month, and I couldn't get to Washington fast enough. Good big salary like that.
$105 a month. That was a lot of money then,
Yeah.
right? Now, what about your family in Arkansas and your educational training growing up? What was it like?
We grew up during the Depression, and we were always trying to find extra work or something. In the spring, we would hoe cotton. In the fall, we'd pick it. In the summer, we'd gather corn. We had mow yards every time we get somebody to get a dime for mowing the yard. And that wasn't with power mowers. That was one that you pushed. Pushed.
So, did you grow up with a big family with
No,
lots of
there-
sisters and brothers?
There was just my father and brother and I was all that lived there.
Okay. And so, how did you get involved with the military?
No, I was drafted in they attacked Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, and I got my draft notice about the 15th, I think it was, to report for duty. I went in January the 6th of 42, and I got back home in September of 45. We were in Africa, in Europe, Sicily, Italy, France, and Germany. I spent 2 years and I think it's 4 or 5 months over there. I kid about the fact that the generals had to have somebody to advise them.
So, did you enjoy your military career?
Well, mostly I did, but over there it wasn't very enjoyable. The more thing was you wanted to do everything possible to stay awake. I stayed alive.
Staying alive is so important.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think your brother was also.
Yeah, he was killed at Pearl Harbor when they attacked Pearl Harbor. He was in the Navy, and but our outfit, we actually didn't have to do too much fighting. Our job was to keep the front lines supplied with food and ammunition. Of course, the Germans didn't like for us to get food and ammunition up to them, but they'd try to prevent it. That was our only problem.
That was an important role.
Yeah, well, we didn't think much of it.
But we won. The important thing is we won.
Yeah, we
Thank God.
lost.
So after the military, what did you do?
Well, I went to work for the federal government in 1940, and I just returned to my job with the U.S. government. And altogether, including my military service, I spent a little over 37 years with them. As you were saying, we used to have a favorite expression, I wasn't interested in you until you got hurt. We paid injury compensation to federal employees.
Oh, wow.
So, as our joke was, we'd get a congressional letter or something on March the 1st. Why hadn't you been paid your compensation for the injury you sustained on March the 15th? We had a lot of jokes about it, but we kept busy.
So what did you think about your career? What was it like? What was your career like?
Well, I stayed with it a little over 37 years. I guess it was all right.
You enjoyed yourself working for the
I
government?
I'm with the government, with the federal government.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any exciting things you'd like to share with us?
Not any that I know of. Uh, I started out early they hired me, I like to tell it, they hired me as a clerk typist in 1940. I finally got a typewriter in 1945. But of course, there was about 3 years and 9 months of that I was in the Army. But
But they kept you busy.
they kept us busy.
I
Yes.
know they did. So, what are some fun things that you like to do? What are some fun things that you like to do?
Well, I don't know if it's well known now down here or not. I used to love to duck pin bowling, duck pins, not the big pins, little small ones. But I played a little bit of baseball, but I wasn't big enough to play football. It hurt me too bad.
I can understand. What are some of your favorite books? What do you like to read?
Believe it or not, I read the encyclopedia more than anything else. We got 2 or 3 sets of encyclopedias.
And you know that gives you lots of knowledge.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, when you get my age, you don't remember it too long.
And speaking of age, you want to tell us, I didn't even think about asking you that. Tell us about your age.
I'm 101.
Wow.
101.
I bet a lot of people think you're just 39 and holding.
Well, I sometimes have trouble convincing them that I'm that old, but
101. So I'm sure being 101, you're on a special diet, right?
my son has a favorite expression. At my age, I can eat and drink anything I want to. It don't make any difference because I'm not going to be around that long anyway.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
I've been very fortunate health-wise. So I haven't seen a figure in a couple of years, but I don't think there's more than about 500,000 of us left back 2 years ago. You don't receive very many World War II veterans if the youngest ones are all in the 90s, unless they lied about their age.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. And you know, we saw you not too long ago, since you were former U.S. Army Technical Sergeant, you were conferred as a Knight of the National Order of the Legion of Honor by the French government.
Yes, ma'am.
That's big. That's huge.
Yeah.
And also, you were at a county commissioner meeting where you were presented the Order of the Longleaf Pine
Yes, ma'am.
by the governor of North Carolina. And this is the highest exemplary service honor that you can receive from the governor and from the state of North Carolina.
Yeah. Well, I have that, and I have a couple of medals I picked up while I was over in France and Italy. But I say I can take those medals and $1.50 and get me a cup of coffee.
Being a war hero and looking back over your whole life, what's important? What's really important? And you can tell us a good answer.
I think it was important that I was in an outfit where I had less danger than the fighting men. We were up with them once in a while when we take food and ammunition up to them, but we were always glad to get back to where we wasn't in too much danger. Our biggest problem was artillery. It wasn't very healthy to get your truck hit if you had a load of ammunition. That'd be the last trip you made.
Boy, oh boy. Tell us, are there any special TV shows that you really like?
Well, right now we watch Pat Sajak, what is it?
Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune, and I watch Jeopardy. Outside of that, I just watch a couple of news programs. I haven't watched television very much in 3 or 4 years.
But if you watch Jeopardy, then I know with all of your reading of the encyclopedia that you know many of the answers.
I used to could answer a lot of them, but they're asking questions now that I have no idea what they're talking about. And the trouble of it is now so many of the people in the answering the questions, you can't understand what they're saying.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why.
But if you love Jeopardy, you are a very bright man. Yes, that's a great show to watch.
Yeah.
It is. So, when you think about being 101, what are some things that you'd like to put on your to-do list?
Well, I just like to mention the fact about my work, because I've been retired now for 41 years. They probably changed it so much, I wouldn't even know how to overdo it now. When I retired, I was in charge of what they call District 25. We covered, I can think it was 5 states. My office covered 5 states, and we kept very busy. I guess we got more injury claims from the post office. Post letter carriers are always getting bit by dogs. They didn't lose any time. Most of our injuries come from naval shipyards where they were building ships and things, or Army posts. We did not cover service people, it was only the civilians. But we had enough to keep us busy.
That's good. Now, tell us, we heard that not too long ago, you just celebrated your 101st birthday, and you just didn't have a little birthday cake. There was a lot of excitement in your whole neighborhood, right?
Yes, they had a parade.
A drive-by parade just for
Drive-by.
you.
Yeah.
What did you think about that drive-by parade?
I enjoyed it and appreciated it very much. I didn't know there's so many people out could do that thing, but I guess they can.
And you see how much people love you in Eden and in Rockingham County? The city of Eden just threw out the red carpet for you.
Yeah.
With fire trucks, and the sheriff was there, the county manager drove by. I mean, there were lots of city and county employees there. And
I went by the fire department the other day to thank the man for what he did, and I was fortunate enough to get up in one of the big fire trucks and sit in the seat.
You sat in the fire truck?
It was kind of hard for me to get in to get that fire truck. It's too high. I'm too big. It's short.
That was exciting.
Yeah.
That was
Enjoyed it
exciting.
very much.
It was, and I saw many of your friends from your senior citizen group.
Yeah.
They were dressed up
Yeah.
with signs, and the cake, and your family was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my son and one of the grandsons was there. Get it.
And I heard that you have a special cat at the house. You have a special pet?
Yeah, we have a kitty cat at home.
What's the kitty cat's name? Miss Lily.
Miss Lily, yeah.
Miss Lily.
And she is spoiled too.
Well, I wonder who spoiled Miss Lily.
Wasn't me, of course.
It was somebody else.
Yeah, somebody else was.
But I know Miss Lily loves you,
And,
and you love Miss Lily.
Yeah.
So,
She sleeps a good part of the day. I think she does most of her traveling around at night.
so what makes you happy? What gives you joy? And especially when you think about, I'm 101 years old.
I just enjoy being out, and we 2 or 3 times a week we will go for a ride out in the country, and we get off the main roads onto the county roads and stuff like that, and just look at the scenery, see what's going on. It's so much better than being in a big city where there's no road, nothing to see but buildings.
Tell us, what can we all do to help make Rockingham County a better place to live, work, and play? What would
Well-
you suggest for us to do?
I don't know what they could do for any one particular place, but if they got to stop all of this shooting and gathering around in mobs, if they don't stop it, it's gonna fall apart.
Now, you mentioned your diet. What about your exercise program?
I try. I don't always get it done. I try to walk for 30 minutes every day. Yeah. If I don't, I hear from my doctor about it.
And you stay in good terms with your doctor.
Yeah. I don't have to see him, but about every 3 or 4 months I go to him to check. I do have blood pressure, and so that's what he just checks about every 3 months.
What keeps you going?
Oh, I don't know, I was wondering what's going to take place next, I guess, watching that.
How did you even decide to move to Eden, North Carolina? You've been all over the world.
It's too crowded up there.
You were living in Washington, D.C.?
But no, I lived in Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay.
And, I like to kid about it. I was 13 miles from my office. It took me about 40 minutes to get to work every day. But it's so crowded. Everybody's in a hurry. You don't get to see anything but buildings after building. I like to get out in the country and look around. That's what I like about the rides that we make every day or 3 or 4 times a week, as I said.
So, and that leads to my next question. Why do you love Eden, North Carolina?
Well, my friend was looking for a place to move to, and when they decided to move to Eden, I just decided to move with them. I lived in Washington, I was alone by myself, and we were together, and so I decided I might as well come to Eden too. I'm glad I got out of that crowd.
And what is it that you love about Eden?
You got room and you can see things beside the building.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
5 rivers and lakes,
yeah.
scenic beauty. You get a chance to ride around and see all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Not that I know of, no, ma'am.
I know. I have one more question. What wise tip of life would you like to leave with us?
What?
A wise tip that you'd like to leave with us?
Well, I don't know. I just go ahead and eat and drink what I like, and as my son says, because of my age, I can eat and drink anything I want to. It won't make any difference.
We certainly thank you for giving time
Well,
to stop by and to share with us beautiful words of wisdom from a 100-year-old Sir Paul Prewitt of Eden, North Carolina. Thank you so much for being with us, because you've got grit.
Well, it won't be long until we're all gone.
But you know what? We'll all be together.
Yeah.
We'll all be together.
I doubt very much, in one circumstances, I knew my grandfather for several years who fought in the Civil War. So you should hear him, he fought for the South, and you should hear him talk about the Yankees.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
He was something.
Yeah, our grandparents, we look back on them and we love them because they were there for us when we needed them.
Yeah. Well, Grandpa was in the Civil War, my father was in World War I, and I got in my brother and I was in World War II.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My grandparents were in World War I and my father was in World War II.
My brother was on the USS Oklahoma, and I guess it's about 2 years ago, they finally identified the bones of the people. They had over 400 men just buried in 3 or 4 graves, but they found some of his bones. They're getting ready to bury him down in the family cemetery out in Arkansas if this pandemic ever ends. But we stay in and stay out, try to stay healthy.
So that means whenever this pandemic calms down a little bit,
Yeah.
maybe you can go back to Arkansas
Yeah, go back
and
there.
participate in the ceremony.
Yeah.
That will be another historic occasion
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Well, we appreciate your family because you all have really given a lot
Thank
to
you.
America.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
very
much. You've got grit, Sir Paul Prewitt. We bet you know a Rockingham County citizen you describe by saying, "You've got grit." Email a paragraph describing a Rockingham County citizen you think Spectrum 1304 should interview for You've Got Grit. Simply email your paragraph to mscott@co.rockingham.nc.us. That's mscott@co.rockingham.nc.us. Thanks for joining us. You've got grit.